Okay, next we will look at the case settings a little more closely. So I have opened up MATLAB and opened the input directory, and now we will just go through those files and have a look at each and every one, and I will explain a little bit about what they contain. So env-config, that one is parent path, which is actually automatically dealt with. That's that's kind of an internal parameter to the tool. You don't have to worry about that one. Then you've got Python version, and that one will be interesting if you have different Python versions installed on your machine. If you need to run Python with the command Python 3, for example, in a terminal, then you might want to just add a 3 as a value, and that will be just put at the end of the command that the toolbox will use. So let's clear that and look at the next one. So we will get, let's see, meshing parameters, the fine variant here, for example. Okay, we've got cells per gap. That is, I mean, first of all those parameters you should be a little bit familiar with what fluent meshing can do, because cells per gap, for example, is just a parameter that is, you probably know it if you have worked with ANSYS fluent meshing before. So that's the amount of cells at between two edges. For example, at the trailing edge, we will have 4 cells now from the upper corner to the lower corner on the trailing edge. Then we've got phase max. So that is a cell size value, and globally every surface cell will have a maximum value of 32 millimeters in that case. And we've got the first layer height in millimeters also. You might want to change that depending on your setup, on your flow conditions. Then you've got fuselage local min. That is, I mean, I hope the names are a little bit explanatory already, but yeah, on the fuselage part of the geometry, you will have this minimum cell size, I'm sorry. Then we've got the global growth rate, which is a boundary layer parameter. Just look at the documentation if you've got any further questions on that. Then you've got global max, so that is in the volume mesh on the most outer parts, for example, you will have those cells with that maximum cell size. Global min, basically the other way around. Last percent is also a boundary layer parameter. The mesh size factor is not yet implemented. The idea is to have a simple scaling factor, so you could maybe just multiply all the other values with that one. But that needs to be implemented, so it would be just a quick way of scaling the mesh. Next one, we've got the norm angle, which has to do with curvature refinement, the number of boundary layers, on the wing, the local maximum cell size, and those are the domain limits basically. So yeah, for a proper passenger aircraft, for example, you will want to change those and make them a little larger. Okay, I think that's it. We will have a look at the next one. So clear this file and let's have a look at first my aircraft parameters. If we try to open this one, we will see that is a cell array. I will not show the contents now because I think if you're working with that, you probably know what you're doing, and if not, you probably don't even care, because that's probably a more complicated way of defining a geometry, and if you don't already know what that is, you might want to choose another way, and I will talk about a different way in a later video. So let's clear that one as well and see the solver parameters, and that's going to be interesting. So let's start. We've got the airspeed, which I think is that's clear, meters per second. And now we've got those parameters with the AMR in front. So that's the adaptive mesh refinement parameters. We've got a maximum cell count. I hope you're not on a student license, because if so, you won't be able to use anything probably anyway. We've got the maximum refinement level. So I think you might be familiar with that. If you have a high maximum refinement level, your cell count might just explode. So be careful with that one. Min cell quality. So yeah, that if you've got cells that are bad quality after refinement, the solver should, or the meshing, the AMR should not use that cell, but either try to correct that cell or just not have it refined. But I'm not sure about the implementation of that, and I think you can have a look at the ANSYS documentation for that one. The minimum edge length, yeah, that's for the refined cells, so you don't want to have super tiny cells probably. You've got the AMR refined frequency. That's now it's becoming interesting, because we've got a refined frequency, we've got iterations after refinement and iterations. And what that means, I will show you in the report now. So we've got the frequency, that's basically the distance between those peaks, between those iterations where we refine the mesh. Now it's, for example, it was 20 in the example. If you make it bigger, those peaks will just go further apart, and you will have better convergence in between those peaks. That might be interesting for convergence in the end. And then we've got, what did we have? The iterations, 80 for example in this file. And here that would be the end of the phase where we want refinement to be done, because we don't really get a nice convergence if we are going to refine again and again. That's why we've got that iterations after refine parameter, and that just says how far are we going to go after those refinement steps. And that will decide on how good the convergence will be. I mean, depending on the setup anyway, but yeah, that's that. All right, now we've got those angles of attack. That is just a list of different values in degrees that you want to simulate. Pretty straightforward, I guess. We've got the base report name. You've already done that, seen that in the report in an earlier video. That is what will be on top of the HTML and PDF reports. Then we've got those reference areas. Reference area or density or length or pressure. Currently only the length and the area are implemented, because you need that for the calculation of the coefficients. And the other reference parameters are basically just, maybe you might use them for something. So I've implemented it because it was just easy at that point, and yeah, maybe it's useful for later. But that's the view at the available parameters. And just one note: if you change them, be careful that you only have those parameters that you want to edit of the file that you want to edit, and clear in between, because it might be an issue if you've got, for example, if I open up environment configuration, then we've got more parameters in here. And if I save it now, that might override, for example, the parent path. And that will be used to steer which file goes and which file will be deleted, for example. You will run into problems if you do this mistake. So that might be an issue. Be careful with that. But I guess that's it for this video, and yeah, I'm nearly done. The next one will be about changing the way you provide the geometry parameterization. See you in the next video.